Hey, good morning, guys. Saturday morning here. I'm gonna finish up my chores here, and then I have a story here I want to tell you guys here about the goats that were on the farm, and try to keep it so everybody can follow. Everything's doing good. It's about 20 degrees out this morning with high winds. So I just got done feeding the two bottles here to my little orphans. They're really not too bad orphans, they're nice little pets. And also we'll change his cast out today and see how it's doing, and try to give it a little better support and wrap it with cotton before we put the paint sticks around. So alright guys, well, I'm just going to put a video together here and see how the morning goes. Well guys, I'm going to start with this story here a little bit. I know there's cattle in here now, but there was roughly around 20-some goats, Boer goats, and you can hear kind of how quiet it is now, but goats are not a quiet animal. But anyway, I came out here one morning, and then the sun wasn't quite up yet. There was nothing here to really see, but there's a hay hole up here that I have closed off so the kids can't fall down. Put a vent there. That's where I used to throw the hay down for the goats. And we've been going through months. I'd come out in the morning and the goats have been all bawling and just excited to see you and everything else. And we were planning on going away that day for a little bit, and I was in shock what I got to see. And I came up on top of the barn floor, and I was walking up here, and I thought to myself, this farm has never been this quiet, especially this time of the day or in the morning. I mean, and I could barely see, and we just, like I said, I was planning on doing the chores a little earlier and coming down here and throwing their hay down right away. Well, I came to the hay hole and I looked, and I was like, maybe the goats are gone, and first thing I thought in my mind. And then my eyes kind of focused with a little bit of light was coming up, because the sun comes up from the east over here, and I looked, and the goats were just all spread all over, and well, it wasn't a normal thing to see them sleep like that, and they were just piled all over, and then I just realized that some of them are dead, and so I jumped back up and took off to the house and ran into my wife, and I said, there's something out there, something happened. And I was in shock, so I grabbed my rifle. I had a 270 or a 30-06 at that time, and at that point when I looked down, I didn't see anything in the pen that wasn't other than goats laying all over, and things didn't look right. So I came around the back side of the barn, and it would have been up there coming down around, and by that time there was enough daylight you could see, and my eyes were just amazed. Things were just ripped open, things that looked like first thing I was thinking was a mountain lion or some kind of a bigger animal than what I've ever seen come into my farm like this. And I didn't see the item that came into the farm right away, but I had my rifle, it was loaded, and I stood up on top right there on the other side of that gate, and then all of a sudden this thing moved, and I just couldn't believe it. It got up, and I had my rifle loaded and everything, and I just trying to focus what it was, and I was thinking, the thing stood up, it was huge, and I just couldn't get over it. And it just kind of looked at me and a big head and stuff, and I was like, and meanwhile there is a couple goats who were still alive. Some had their stomachs ripped open, some had their heads ripped open. And there was one, the billy goat. He was the biggest guy in here, and he was fighting all night. Whenever that item came into the farm, he was just had this sad cry to him, and he was pinned down over here in the corner. There was gates, and there was actually back in there I had Peking ducks, and ducks are usually a noisy item too. Nothing. There wasn't a word or a peep on the farm. So back in the back here, I would have Peking ducks, a walkway, a gate right there, and that's where the billy goat was pushed against the gate. And there were goats actually jumped into the walkway trying to get away. So it took me a couple more minutes just to look around the pen. The pen's not huge, but it's just the bodies, the blood, and just you could see it was splattered up on the walls. I mean, it was terrible. I mean, I never seen anything like it. The billy, once he seen I was there, he just had this sad cry. It was not a normal cry, you know. It was a cry for help. This gate here, I have it on an angle now, but this gate originally came across right here, and this is where the dog. It was a dog that came in here. It was a Great Dane, and it came in here. And that gate was about that height. It drug itself up underneath the gate. This was not a small dog. This was an older one. Now, prior to this, there were some rumors going around the neighborhood that there was this item walking around tall. They didn't know what it was, and it did attack a calf down at the neighbors. I guess it hurt it pretty bad. And so immediately I called the police. I told him, I said, I have a dog, it has tags on it, and it attacked my goats. And the state police were like, I said, the dog's still in there, and I'm not going to go in there if you would see what these goats look like. And I tried to explain to him in a calmly manner, but yet I was shooken up because these goats were pregnant. They were, I mean, it just, you have 20-some goats, and you have 12 of them that just ripped to pieces, and 8 of them are, you know, just on their deathbed. And we had to put a couple down. So state police took a total of 45 minutes to get here to the farm. And now I said, the animal was not going to, he wasn't, well, I was standing there, I was yelling at it, you know, I said, look what you have done to my goats. And I yelled at it, and I yelled at it. And it was trying to get back underneath here, but it's a slope down here. Dog, he did not want to drag his body downward. And the dog was wore out from all the damage he had done. So I called the police again, and I said, hey, you got to get here. He's trying to get out. It was trying to get underneath his gate again. And I said, I am not going to let this dog walk off my property alive. And the officer says, sir, he says, I highly recommend you do not shoot that dog, or you will be looking at a lawsuit. I said, you tell me, I yelled at him back. I said, you tell me this animal killed pretty much all my animals, and I am not allowed to defend my own property. It's on my property. He said, I'm highly recommending you not to shoot that animal. I said, that dog is not going to walk off my property. And he goes, how bad is it? I said, there's blood on the walls. I said, it looks like a massacre. And it took another 15 minutes till the cop actually pulled in. His car pulled his front end right here. He pulled right up to this wall. And as he got out of the car, he come up. I said, it's right there. I said, you go in. He said, can we go in there and get a collar on it? I said, you go in there and get it. And he looked at the barn, the blood. He says, I thought you were some homeowner overreacting on a little chihuahua. He said, I am so sorry. He apologized. I don't know how many times he's seen the sighting that I was looking at, and he was just blown away. He says, the dog was covered in blood. It was just the way it was tearing the animals apart. And I said, I had my rifle. I said, I laid up on the wall there. I said, I am not going in there and get that dog after it destroyed 12 of these animals. And he looked at him and he was shocked. So he called the dog warden. And meanwhile, I called a vet because we had animals that needed to be surgeryed and everything else. And I didn't know where to start or where to go. What point, where do you give up? But eventually the dog warden got here. He pulled in. And the officer actually went in there and put a lasso around its neck, and he brought it out and tied it to the front of his car. The dog warden, it was a Saturday, so everybody was kind of closed, and they're like, we don't know what to do with this dog. So the warden actually came out, the officer got a hold of him, and he came over and he grabbed him, and the vet was here. We were out here, right here in the middle of the floor, doing surgery on animals, sewing them up best we could. And after that, I lost all interest in the goats because there was no way I could take care of some of these. The wounds were just so great that we actually gave them away to a Amish man. But to go through that hard, to come out in a morning like that, it was just unbelievable. The officer spent most of his time apologizing the whole time, and he said, honestly, he said, I just thought it was a little dog, and he said, I didn't expect this. I thought you were overreacting. He said, I would have got here sooner. I said, well, I'm a farmer, and I said, I'm a grown man, and I seen it, and I about got sick to my knees, I said. So a week or two went by, and the dog warden called me. He says, hey, they did it, the owners of the dog, they found it. And the owners of the dog are going to pay to have a dog study to see if it actually is aggressive. And it passed the test. And they actually allowed it to be adopted out again. And I was so angry, and I said, you know, that dog can find its way back here. And I said, an animal, once it has blood on its mouth, it's always going to be an aggressive animal. And he told me they adopted it back out too. And I said, if it kills a kid or something, I said, I'll do whatever it takes to come after you guys in your organization. And that dog should have been put down. And he said, I know it should have been. So I had to take the lady that owned the dog to court. And today I am still getting paid $25 a month for the damages, for the medical bills, the loss, and it's going to take a long time to get that money back. But at the same time, I made my decision that I wouldn't raise goats no more. And like I said, I gave them away, and the Amish, they came and got them, and as far as I know, some of them might be still alive, others I don't know. Some were pregnant yet, and they probably more than likely aborted because of the stress and the medication that we're on. But something I never want to experience again, and I think about it back in my head every time I come out here, knowing that it could be something, out here with these calves. Calves are a little bit bigger animals at this stage, but baby calves out there in the barn, they cannot defend themselves. And a lot of people ask me, why don't we have a dog on the farm? And that was my biggest fear of owning ever a dog. And I know some of you might say, well, you have to overcome that, but to you stood in my shoes and seen the building, 8, 9, 10 feet blood up on the walls, you could see they were fighting for their lives, being thrown around like rag dolls. And I thought I'd share a story because it's just a part of farming and part of life, and it's just, I hope I have to never experience that again. So, it was just amazing how even the police or the state police say, the first thing he thought in his head that I'm some guy whining about a chihuahua nipping at my goat's legs. And, well, I'm going to finish whatever I was doing. That was on his agenda. He apologized for all the way. That was on his agenda, to do whatever it took not to get here in time. And then tell me not to shoot the animal, the dog. And I told him, I said, that dog is not walking off the property, because once it leaves here, it came on my property and killed my animals. I won't have any proof. I said, the only proof it's going to have is it's going to be dead. And he says, I highly recommend do not pull that trigger on that animal. I said, well, then you get here. And yeah. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the morning story here on the predator that came in and took everything that belonged to me. And we enjoyed the goats on the farm. And I don't have many videos of that, but that's another reason why I don't have goats and sheep for the kids and stuff, because it just, cattle are quieter. I guess goats are noisier, and it can attract animals in more quickly. So have a great morning, guys. We'll talk to you later.